Alright, welcome to a little bit of a fun video. Don't do this like a serious video or anything like that. It's just to bring attention to gyro aiming and the benefits it can bring. Not to be in any competition or stuff like that. So we're gonna be trying Aimlabs. There are a lot of things here. To be quite honest, I don't think this is the best overall interface, kind of cluttery and everything, but what we're gonna do is let me go to lobby first, go to full history. So we're gonna go for these three down here. We're gonna go through Gridshoot Ultimate, Headshot Standard, and with Microflex Standard. This is basic just thing here that you can, like balloons, kind of pop up, and you're supposed to get your aim there and fire at them as quickly and smoothly as you can. You get points deducted if you miss. You get points in the Microflex Standard. You're gonna get head points deducted if you aren't fast enough like to hit something, right? Because they pop up and then they go away. So the first one is Gridshoot Ultimate. That is gonna be like, I think it is like 4 balloons on screen, and every time you shoot one, another one pops up, and you're just gonna continue to hit as many as possible without missing. Headshot Standard, they are pretty much the same, but they are a little bit smaller and they don't pop up in the same kind of way. More about kind of doing bigger movements, but the balloons will stay there until you shoot them. And then we're gonna end on what is definitely out of these three the most challenging, and probably the one that I would need the most training to improve myself a little bit. There we go. Is Microflex Standard. So the balloons will pop up, and for roughly like a second or so they will be visible and you have your time to hit them. If you don't, you're gonna get less of a score. If you miss, you're gonna get less of a score and stuff like that. But it's about quickly being able to just get your crosshair on it and hit them before they go away. And we're gonna use for this just for fun. Don't take any scores and serious, but just to showcase that you can have a lot of fun with gyro aiming. So I'm gonna be using my do I have a name for it? Let me see. Oops, sorry. There we go. Do I have a name? I don't remember even the name. Okay, well, I think it is a Dream Machine DM1 Pro S mouse, and let me, it's running in 1000 Hertz, right? So this is kind of like my mouse I'm gonna be using, and I have a big kind of like Asus mouse pad, which is some kind of fabric, standard mouse pad fabric. I use very small movements for my mouse. Let me do if I can see one thing. Game recording. Capture cursor. That might be something that is good to have. Can you see my cursor? No. Oh, well, maybe. There we go. Right. So I have very small movements. So for me to move this way back and forward, I just flick my wrist a little bit. I'm not the one that like use my entire arm or anything like that. Just for basic information, so you know. And then how this video is gonna be done. Again, I'm gonna write down my scores and gonna be fun to see. And the goal of this video is for me, for fun, to see how big of a difference it is between all of these inputs, but also to showcase that, hey, gyro aiming is really something that can bring a lot of fun to the table and should be more of a standard, stuff like that. So we're gonna start with mouse. There we go. Gonna run through all of this. Then I'm gonna, hopefully I don't have to restart this Aimlab, but we'll see if I need to do that. Then we're gonna swap to my 2015 version Steam controller, which is 125 Hz wireless gamepad with gyro and everything. So just again, mouse, the Dream Machine DM1 Pro S 1000 Hz polling rate to the Steam controller. And then we're gonna run through all of these 3 tests with the Steam controller. Again, that is 125 Hz. This is using gyro to mouse emulation, a beta feature that is supposed to be the best. Feels really nice. Then we're gonna swap to the Gamesir wired one, which is 1000 Hz polling rate. Very nice gyro. So the Steam controller, if I touch my right touchpad, it will enable the gyro. Also, the touchpad is enabled for regular mouse movement, but I'm not going to use that. But that can obviously affect a little bit of, you know, the stability. If you accidentally move your thumb, it could, you know, change your aim a little bit. But I wanted it to be as true to life as possible, so I'm keeping that option on there. I could disable, you know, that the touchpad doesn't have any input, that I only have to rest my thumb there, but it couldn't move the cursor. But I wanted it to be real to life. And then we have the Gamesir, which is gyro always on, and I have a button to reset the gyro, you know, to turn the gyro off, to reset the controller if I want. But that means that the Gamesir might, you know, it's only gonna have gyro input, and the Steam controller might, if I were to accidentally move my thumb a little bit, it could affect the aiming. But they are, you know, how I would use them in a game. So I want to emulate that, and mouse is mouse. And disclaimer, if you are just here for, you know, that mouse is probably gonna win everything. I don't think it's gonna be like dominating, and it's gonna be very interesting to see the Gamesir version, the Steam controller, because we have the Steam controller being 125 Hz polling rate, which a lot of people are shitting on 125 Hz polling rate. But in my testing, the Gamesir, that is a 1000 Hz, absolutely amazing gyro, right? It feels really smooth. Doesn't really improve the game experience. So, but if, you know, if I'm wrong, that should mean that between those two, when we are only focusing on the gyro aiming, the Gamesir should smoke this 125 Hz Steam controller. I just don't think that's the thing. I think people are... It's nothing wrong with the 1000 Hz polling rate, but I don't think it is the holy grail and that thing that most people should be focusing on. If you are using gyro aiming in a very high competitive way, and I'm not talking that if you are at home and you play competitive for fun, you know, ranked or whatever. I'm talking if you are into e-sport, you are heading up the rank with your controller. Yes, 1000 Hz is definitely going to be something that's going to help improve you and make you climb that ladder. For the for the most of the people here, casual to casual plus, or tipping into the pro ranks, you know, ranked at home, it's just not gonna make that difference. We are talking 7 milliseconds, and there are so much more. You have built-in latency in, you know, your eyes, your heads, your age, and everything. How good you are at the game's mechanic. You have like up to some game menus have 80 milliseconds of latency built into them. You have more than 7 milliseconds of latency built into monitors, computers. It's not gonna be that different. But if you are that esport, really high competitive, yes, that could make a difference. So me, I'm in the, kind of feel like I'm in the mid-range. I'm 40, my reaction time are definitely down since being in my 20s. I was much better, you know, higher responsiveness to be able to quickly react and everything like that. We're gonna see that in the Microflex. So, but yeah, so we're gonna do 3 tries with mouse, Steam controller, and Gamesir. And I'm gonna write down the scores, and the highest scores then in every these groups. I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna tell you that by the end and just have a little bit of a fun talk there. So let's jump into it, and we're gonna start with Gridshoot Ultimate mouse mode here. Keyboard, mouse and keyboard I could say, but we're not gonna be running around. Aimlabs is free. All of I'm doing here you can try for free at home. It's available on Steam. There's also ranked stuff, and you can buy to get perks and extra stuff available. But yeah, very interesting, very good. If I were to wanna use this to improve, it definitely is good to have, because I can definitely see that for me, if I were to play Valorant, CSGO or something heavy like that, Microflex standard and stuff like quick flick shoot is what I need to really improve to climb my to increase my rank better there. But we start with easiest, which is Gridshoot Ultimate, right? And when you click, it's gonna start. And again, it's about to pop these 3 balloons, and when I pop one, another one will pop up, and you shoot as many as possibly, and you gonna get minus points if you miss. Stuff like that. Very simple graphic, but it's just about focusing on aiming here, nothing else. There are so much more to getting good at games. Strategies, weapon metas, knowing the map layout or how to do stuff like that. So this is just one little aspect of it. It's not gonna be like if you were to smoke this test right every here Aimlab, be Aimlab Pro, you might still get your ass kicked online. But this is fun, so take it as a fun thing here, just to demonstrate that, hey, yeah, it might actually be fun for me to try and to see that. So I'm gonna, hopefully I'm gonna get my crosshair a little bit to one of the first balloon here. We gotta give us a little bit of a head start. So 3 tries. My left hand is gonna be on WASD, and then I'm gonna have my normal position here on my right hand on my mouse, and let's go. Here we go, my first try, 44,380. 44,380. Alright, so don't pay attention to my high score, because that could actually be mouse, it could be Steam controller, it could be the Gamesir. I don't remember, because I tried to optimize everything beforehand, so to make this smoother. So round 1. I think this is gonna be probably could be very close between all of them. This is not super crazy or anything. Accuracy 97%, reaction time 418 milliseconds. Again, if this is an accurate thing, think about 125 versus 1000. That means if that were a big deal, that's a 7 millisecond difference. That is nothing out of 418 milliseconds. So yeah, I really think that you should not focus about the polling rate too much. You need to try the device and see how it performs for you. But let's get another try going here. 2, 1, go. So yeah, I feel this is just a pretty average thing. I'm, you know, definitely not a special mouse or keyboard user or anything like that. 292. Just an average score here that most people can achieve without any big huge problem here. So, but it's good enough for me to have fun in single player games, and you know, probably could get a decent experience in many online games that aren't like super sweaty games. So I haven't really used mouse to game since I got my Steam controller, so that's about 9 years. But I use mouse every day, right? So that is still practice, you know, to mark text, to open, to hit icons, to do stuff, move and drag around. So I get mouse practice every day anyway. And you know, Steam controller, you know, I only get for the 9 years when I game FPS games. That's only when I get that. And then I have the least amount of, you know, the Gamesir, but I still have gyro aiming experience there. But we're gonna do one more time. Probably might be worst score here. I feel that 52,000 is my high score here. Yeah, 52 was my highest, but we're gonna put this down anyway. 49, here we go. We're gonna move to the next one. One thing that you're probably gonna see, return to lobby, is the big difference between gyro aiming, especially with Steam controller here, and the Gamesir, is that mouse is gonna feel and look a little bit more stable. Because you have like your hands, when you're holding it, you have a little bit of movements always. You can do things to get rid of that, but I'm keeping that little shakiness kind of in, because that will get a bit of a snappier, less response, more responsiveness feeling. But you're gonna see that is one difference between mouse and gyro aiming. So we're gonna move around to headshot standard. The balloons are gonna be smaller, but they will still stay on screen till I hit them. Right, my accuracy 94, a little bit bad there, but let's write it down. It's almost my high score here. All right, 94. It's getting a little bit more challenging, but still nothing extraordinary going on here. I'm sure that most of you can get better high score than I am on this one. Go. A little bit worse there. So I have to make everything seems to simulate my gaming experience. I've locked this game to 120 frames per second because that's what I'm, used to be gaming in. This is like midday. It's a nice bright environment, but not overly bright. It's cloudy day, so it's good thing. There's not a lot of reflections. And I'm running the game, my monitor is a 55-inch 4K, about one arm length away from me, but I usually game in 1440p window mode, and that's what I'm running this Aimlabs in. So that's about 27-inch, maybe 30-inch monitor, like an arm's length away. Pretty standard thing. To keep this as close to real life, I could have this running at like 360 frames, maybe could shave off a little bit of a millisecond here and there and stuff like that, but no, I'm trying to keep this as close to real life gaming, not competitive. When I'm done with this, I'm gonna most likely just uninstall this, focus on gaming, but this is fun thing to just see for yourself. If I want to keep this, it's gonna be the next test after this one that I need to focus to really improve myself. $55. Okay, so my first was the best one. I go to the next one, and here's probably which is my most area to improve, and that probably a lot of you guys really could smoke me in the next test here, the final test for mouse, which is going to be kind of flick shot. I have the balloon pops up on the screen, stays on the screen for maybe like a second, and then it goes away and you lose a point. If you don't hit it, you're gonna lose points if you miss, if you click, shoot and miss. Really good for, I would say, fast-paced games. You have Valorant, you have CSGO, you have Apex. Those games are really going to be beneficial for this one, and faster paced single player games like Turbo Overkill, Doom Eternal could definitely benefit from the flick stick here. This is gonna go bad. Whew. Yeah, but okay, I got a high score, so that's interesting, but it's definitely nothing impressive going on here. That's probably gonna be my highest score, 46,648. Let's get into it. All right, try to do my best here, even though it's not impressive here, but yeah, fun little training thing here. Okay. So I'm guessing this is definitely RNG everything, so you know, it might also happen that I get a little bit better RNG that fits my pattern. I do see that in my mind, my mouse or my brain always, after hitting something, wants to get centered again. That is, I guess, both good and bad. In a test like this, it's bad. If I was in like a, you know, online multiplayer game, you know, and I click someone off screen, whatever, move my mouse and shoot and then center it, that can be a good thing, because, you know, enemies might not pop up like in this random pattern. So it's both a good and bad thing, and not something that I really think that I wanna fix, that I like center after hitting something. But I see that is definitely going to impact negatively on this kind of test. And again, you need to be really aware that, you know, tests like this is a good tool, but it's not the end and the, you know, end tool to getting good at everything, because there are much more here in this application that can help you with determining your good sensitivity and stuff like that. But to really get good of game, you know, this is a good tool, but then also you need to learn the game mechanic, the recoil and everything like that, and the metas. But one more time, probably 55 is my highest. I'm very happy with how this has went. Very nice, decent. So we're gonna switch now to Steam controller. We're gonna run through all of this. So I definitely feel that when it comes to like online competitive games, mouse is gonna probably be the best, most stable and everything, but you're gonna get a really good result if you dig into gyro aiming, even if it is Steam controller or if the Gamesir. But we're gonna see how big of, you know, different this is. But take this for a fun thing to really showcase that, you know, it's a very viable option to having gyro compared it, because I don't think I would love it if you have linked to someone that are playing this kind of test but with a dual stick setup, because I cannot imagine getting anywhere near this good with just dual stick aiming. I just can't. So hopefully I don't have to restart. We're gonna go for Gridshoot. Have my Steam controller turned on. Right. Right. So gyro on right touchpad. When I touch the right touchpad, my gyro is on. Also, the touchpad is emulating a mouse, so you know, again. And this is my gyro to mouse settings. Everything is default, but I increased the sensitivity. And I added trigger damping. That means that the gyros should be more kind of stable when I press down my triggers. And the trigger, this is the one we use to fire, is set to be... I could set it to be start of press, since this is just a single click that could shave off maybe like a millisecond or so, who knows. But I'm using this as a normal again as I possibly can. So it's no analog input. I've changed the trigger threshold, it's hair trigger. The Steam controller has very good for FPS game triggers because it is kind of low kind of... It doesn't have as big of a range. The shorter trigger. Right. So we're gonna do the same here. Just who can I move freely? You don't need big movements. I'm pretty much gonna have my Steam controller in my lap and do this. You don't need to like do this. If you do this with gyro, you need to tweak it. Like 90 to 90, somewhere around 90 plus maybe %. This is the movement that you're gonna use when you use gyro aiming. It's very nice. It's not gonna be anything crazy and stuff like that, you know. You see here how big. So it's gonna be just small movement. So again, Steam controller, wireless, 125 Hz. This is, I've run a calibrations today for the gyro for this, and I have done it for the Gamesir. But I'm gonna verify that it is good. 2015 model, original, used thousands of hours. The AA batteries are, I don't know, weeks, maybe a month old, because this has a decent battery life of 80 to 120 hours on 2 AA batteries. So I don't even know how old they are. It's not blinking, so it should have decent batteries still. So we can align it first. And begin. Whew. More than good enough of a score for, you know, single player games. And one thing that is really funny to see here is that it's not a huge thing here, right? Between the mouse and the Steam controller, they both seem pretty stable when I'm moving, because the Steam controller is super ergonomic, even though it is a bit of a, maybe compared to the Gamesir, this is a chunky boy. It's a little bit bigger, I like that, but it's heavier, and I would like the weight of the Gamesir. But this is the thing again, since this has a lower polling rate, that means that some of my micro movements is not gonna get picked up, which means that the aiming might actually have a little bit of a more smoother curve to it, since if it's polling every 1 millisecond, it is a bit of a risk that all my super small movements can be picked up and make it a little bit more shaky. And since this isn't gonna pick up maybe as much of those, it can actually be that this is more of a stable aiming that can be really good. But yeah, it's a decent here. Let me put down the score. Like, this is good for 125 Hz. For majority of games, this is going to be absolutely great gyro experience. And for, most games, single player is going to be more than enough, and you're going to be able to do good in multiplayer for sure. We're going to do that. We're going to see what we're going to get here. Still, this is, for me, the king of FPS gaming when it comes to controller. I really wish that Valve will work with the community to make a version 2 here that just could give new life. Maybe the world are more prepared for gyro aiming and Steam controller with this customizability to the UI and everything like that. I missed about 5 shots there, but yeah, you can still see that it's a big difference to go into, mouse here. Mouse, still faster and a little bit more accurate and everything, but this is, what isn't really seen here is how comfortable this is. It's so comfortable compared to me sitting with, the hands and everything, that it's just... I've had, due to bad ergonomics, a little bit of a feeling in my left arm. And I feel that, when I use normal position. This one, no, I feel nothing. I'm relaxed. My shoulders are relaxed. My hands are relaxed. It's another aspect of this that is really fun. It is so a relaxed ergonomic experience that you don't really get through numbers. 9, 6, 4. It's not a huge difference here. But this is a difference, still. Mouse is kicking ass. If you're going for, being a pro, being really competitive, yeah, mouse is still, up there with the top tier. But with a good gyro, you can get very, very close. And if you focus on gyro and focus on tools like this, yeah, I think you can get pretty close to being on the same level as a mouse with gyro aiming. When it comes to aiming, there are more aspects, movement and stuff like that, that this test here isn't going to evaluate. But when it comes to pure aiming, I think you can get pretty damn close, or maybe even on level with mouse aiming here. It's very, very minor difference. Oh, right, let me show me one more thing here. So I did change this one. I turned this one down a little bit because I wanted to, when I move my Steam controller here in my lap in a nice normal thing, I wanted to be able to do like a concentric circle. You call that, like if we were looking at the circle around my camera there, I want it to be like a smooth motion there. So by default, I felt that the circle were more vertical than concentrical here. So I've dampened the vertical movement a little bit here to make that. That's also something that I tweak. But this is gonna be a personal thing, settings for you to tweak, depending on how you feel about that. Also, to keep my energy good, I don't consume a lot of like caffeine. I have a decent good sleep today, and also I drank big chunky plastic bottle of Pepsi before this hand, like maybe 30 minutes before this. Well, I started like 1.5 to 2 hours before this, but I ended about 15 minutes or so before doing this test, so to give myself energy boost, to be a high level for this test, because doing tests like this, there are so many factors that's going to affect your result. Are you clear-minded, or do you have a lot off your mind that's gonna stop you? Have you had the good sleep, or are you tired? Have you had a very physical day where you done a lot of hard manual labor? Maybe your hands are tired, a little bit more muscles, or a little bit more tired, and that's probably gonna make a more of a difference than having this like 125 hertz versus 1000 polling rate. Just want to point out stuff like this as I'm going along, as they pop up here in my head. But this is going to be the final try here for this test. One miss. Two miss. Three misses total. Yeah, not too bad. Another difference between controllers and a mouse is mouse, you have a digital, very short throw click. Depending on your triggers, you're gonna have longer or shorter throw distance. Some has this like where you can lock it, and through software that it triggers faster. Steam controller has shorter by default, and it's set with the hair trigger and everything, but it still is going to take a little bit, like few milliseconds longer for me to click down here and release than it does on a mouse and keyboard. On the mouse, there's definitely going to be part of if you're going for the highest competitive thing, to really find a good controller which you have like this kind of the shortest amount of distance for you just quickly tap to fire. It's going to be something to look into if you want to optimize your gyro game controller experience here. But all right, 756, not too bad. Let's go back. And the next one is Headshot, smaller balloons. Bit more challenging. Let's try to center it. Sit in a nice relaxed position. That was damn, pretty close to my high score here. Not shabby at all here. Accuracy a little bit lower here. Reaction time quite high. Almost 1 second reaction time here. And that's again, like, if you look at those number reaction time, right? 752. And then you take 125 Hz polling version 1000. That's a 7 millisecond difference. Like, it's not even 1% difference in this kind of reaction time latency, you know, when it comes to that. It's, yeah, I think it's been over exaggerated. Focus more on trying the gamepad, you know, and that and how it feels than on the numbers. Don't disqualify like a gamepad or gyro because it has maybe only 250 Hz polling rate. Because I think we're gonna see this, because when we come into the Gamesir, it should smoke the Steam controller. And I'm warmed up now with the gyro aiming. It has its best advantage. I'm warmed up to the game here, the Aimlabs, warmed up to the game, to the gyro aiming, so it should smoke the Steam controller just out of the water. And looking here that I'm pretty close to my mouse score, I highly doubt that, but we will see if I'm wrong or not. And this is a gyro hardware that is 9 years old. Gamesir has like maybe 1 year old when it came out, first launched. 1 year old gyro technology. That's big numbers. There's a big improvement to just gyro sensors and stuff like that happening in the, you know, 8 to 10 years span. All right, so let's see. Focus up here. Are we improving a little bit? All right. Ooh, so close to my high score. Oh, yeah, this is pretty much gonna, if I were to, you know, do a little bit of more of like practice, I could beat my mouse high score here, 462. And Right, let me do... And the high score, yeah, exactly. The high score is what I got another day here, but looking at the average here, this is pretty super close to mouse stuff. So another thing to also mention here is that, again, I'm using a television, right, as a monitor, TCL CH35 running in 120 Hz through HDMI port, and it's a VA panel. And those are known to have more input lag overall compared to just pure computer monitors and compared to like IPS or TN monitors. So, you know, again, just by in your monitor choice, you're probably gonna have more than like the difference between 125 and 100 Hz polling rate. I'm sure there's a more than like 7 millisecond difference between my monitor or TV here compared to like the high-end eSport focus monitors. So yeah, it's just, if you're going for that, you know, super high-end eSport competitive, I'm gonna make money, yes, it's gonna be great to focus on the polling rate and all the stuff and monitors. But if you are just a high-end gamer, stop focusing on the polling rate and have fun. Try the controllers and everything. If it can run at 1000 Hz, set it to that. It's nothing bad about this. Hopefully not. Again, because I think that when it comes to gyro aiming, I think you're gonna see that this looks super stable, almost like a mouse. And I think we're gonna see that the Gamesir that has the most precise gyro here, definitely more precise and more, you know, higher, more modern, more better sensors and everything. You're gonna see that that is more jittery overall. That could make it not better. And so it's probably gonna be very close between the Steam controller and the Gamesir. Even though they are very different, like 9 years age different, or 8 at least, between them being released, between the technology and, you know, the difference in polling rate and everything. So let's go to the roughest one, the most tough one. It's probably going to be the biggest difference here maybe between mouse and the game gyro controller here. That's going to be Microflex standard. My biggest thing to improve, flick stick shooting. So if you have done this test with a controller with gyro, or just a controller with dual stick, you know, feel free to comment down below what you used and what your score was in like any of these 3 tests, because it would be really fun. This is, again, it's fun. It's not to point out that, oh my god, mouse is the one and all to rule all. It's not like Steam controller is gonna rule the world. It's not that the Gamesir is, oh my god, 1000 Hz here, this is a badass, this is gonna kick everything. It's not that. It's just to showcase it test myself to see the impact between these controllers for me and to showcase how stable it look and what it can bring to the table, and to bring awareness of that, hey, give gyro aiming a shot. It's actually really badass and really great for just ergonomic, fun gaming experiences. Just like my previous video, which I did in Turbo Overkill between Steam controller and the game. So it's not meant to, you know, to make a winner. It's just to bring awareness to this, showcase a little bit of difference and stuff like that. So 41. Here I think it might be the biggest difference here I still is pretty close to the lowest score so far of my mouse. But here I feel it might be a bigger difference for me. Because I need the most training here, and yeah. I feel it's gonna probably be a bigger difference here. Okay, pretty much the same here, a little bit of a better, very super close to the low mouse score. And again, this could be able to improve. I could again make so that my shot fires as soon as I pull down the trigger and shave off like a little bit of millisecond there. I could also turn off, in this test it could be beneficial to turn off the trigger dampening. I feel that a little bit because it freezes a little bit, so it makes the shot more stable, but it also makes me, when I miss and want to move, that it adds a little bit of a delay there to it. I'm gonna try that on the third. I might do the same on my Gamesir. Let's turn off trigger dampening, because that could be actually something that in this test is negative. And again, you gotta also realize that this test, in most games, you know, it's not a one-shot quick flick insta headshot kill like this, right? Most of the time it's gonna be that you need to control like some recoil and stuff like that, and you have an automatic in some way that you can. So even if I miss here, I might just miss slightly above or around, and then you could very quickly adjust it with the recoil and everything and still get really good results. So this is extreme case, and I think this showcases how good it is. And especially one thing that is really good is, like now, this is me having the Steam controller in my lap, gyro enable, and it is so stable. It's very close to mouse stable, very ergonomic, very relaxed, very nice. And obviously I can also take my hand off the right touchpad and it's pretty much just super stable. You know, the gyro is off now. And then it's very easy to just back to it. Very little jittering, no problem here. But let's go for the final round. No no trigger dampening this time, to see if that's gonna be. You're gonna see that when I fire, Yeah, felt a little bit better with the trigger dampening off, but at the end score are pretty much the same. But you can also see that it might be a little more shakiness when, you know, when you're firing like micro movement there. But it felt a little bit more smoother, but the results are pretty much the same. It's not reaching out up to the mouse and keyboard, you know, combination, you know, the mouse versus gyro, but it's very consistent here. The first mouse results were pretty much very different, and you know, the low mouse score and the Steam controller's gyro aiming, they are pretty much on par here. They are very, very, very similar. Can we try something quickly? Let's see if we do this, which should be yeah, so it definitely is a difference, up to maybe 20% difference here. Apparently it looks like, if maybe I do my calculation wrong here, but up to a 20% difference. Let's try. Yeah, up to about 20% difference here, but I don't think it's gonna be, you know, overall a 20% difference, you know. And again, you don't get to see the smoothness, the ergonomic feel, and the Gamesir are just like the Steam controller, super smooth because it is so lightweight. But you can see here that this is 1000 Hz, that overall when I'm holding it in my lap, it is more jittery, and it can come down to that this is much more lighter, that it has this cord that might be pulling a little bit. Nothing that I really feel, but that could be causing it. It could be that it is as a more modern gyro and more sensitive and 1000 Hz, so it's gonna register more of the movements going forward. This has much longer triggers, like throw of the triggers, which means it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to go here. It's running in Switch Pro controller mode, which means that the triggers are digital, but I'm not sure how they are configured here as default within the Gamesir's hardware and stuff like that. Yeah, we're gonna see what's happening here. Okay, it's a warm-up thing here. So that's nice. What is fun to see is that my kind of go from mouse to Steam controller, I got a worse score here. So it's good that this got a higher, because I wouldn't want this to be super low or anything, because then it could be that is a difference just of warming up. But since I got a higher score than my Steam controllers first, that's good. It doesn't seem that is that like there is like a warm-up difference period that I need to like account for here, because it is all of these are very different. You know, obviously mouse to gyro gamepad is the biggest difference, But it is a big difference going from the Steam controller that I have 8+ years of experience with, wireless, to the Gamesir that is wired and I have less experience with. So, you know, they feel very different, even so two of them are, you know, gamepads. So I didn't want that to be like a huge thing here, and that's why I'm starting with the easiest and going up to really warm up before the more difficult test coming. But yeah, it didn't seem to be a problem. And I don't mind the wire. I kind of put the wire like on my knee and then down in like a U-bend, so I get the least amount of like cable pull, because I'm close to my computer. It's about one arm off to my left, so it's very, very close to me, which gives me this opportunity to kind of make that the cable be like, I don't really notice it in the position that I'm sitting here, having the cable going from my computer to my knee, down below, and then up to the controller in like a downwards like U shape, which make the cable have less of, you know, a pull. Like if it was going straight from the controller in like a big U thing to my computer, it could have more of a stronger pull on the controller. But this way it doesn't seem to be a problem. And I have my A button set to turn off the gyro, so I can center it. Very simple. I think you can see that this is more jittery overall, but it is very, very, it's going very good anyway. Let me do something here. So, okay, so that's my action things. So that is my my A button here is it says B on the screen here, but on my controller it is the A button, the lowest one there. So you see it as B on screen, but on the controller itself it is a green button with an A on it, right? And I have that to change to action set to turn off the gyro here. And let me just show the settings here. So gyro always on this one, because you don't have any touchpad to activate it here. Sensitivity here is high, and what I feel is good for this controller. I did a few run with that, and the rest here is pretty much default. Haven't changed anything of this one. I'm gonna do a quick test to see if I need to tweak this. I don't think so. And then we have the trigger dampening on, and if I remember it, I might turn this one off for the final score test on the Microflex thing there. But these are the settings that I'm running on the Gamesir here, and gyro to mouse in the beta mode for maximum smoothness. I could also get better score here if I were to optimize my movement better. For sure. Like sometimes I move away from a balloon when I shouldn't. You know, and that comes into thing that a lot of latency is going to be in your brain for you to do fast thinking decisions and stuff like that. Optimization. A lot of headroom there to tweak, you know, your overall latency by just quickly and being effective with how you aim and shoot and stuff like that. So 43. 949, 97% accuracy. All right, not crazy. I would have liked, like, you know, to miss a maximum of one shot, but it's all right. Go. So this is actually, has beaten now my Steam controller in this test. With, you know, not a big margin, but it has beaten it, and it is actually super close to beating the low score of my mouse, which is really nice. It is a great gyro in the Gamesir. Again, I just don't think that for most people you're gonna feel that difference in like most game, unless you're going for ranked online multiplayer gaming here and really want to push high on that kind of thing. But it is good to see that I have beaten my Steam controller here. It's fun. Yeah, a little bit of less of accuracy that probably brought down the scores here. I'm still like every single score here has still beaten the Steam controller by just, you know, just a tiny little smooch there, which is really interesting to see here. Not interesting, it's good to see, because the Gamesir is a really nice controller, very smooth, great gyro. And when you move, you see that how smooth the movements are. It's just when you're holding it super still that you can see that, because it is a very sensitive and good gyro, that you get a little bit more of a jittery thing. Again, for most single player experience and most like casually online, it's not going to be any difference. If you're going to start pushing more, you know, higher end, higher difficulty single player or higher ranking in online, then this gyro is gonna can start making a difference here, right? Obviously there are more than just a gyro. The Steam controller has touchpad and stuff that brings other pros to the table also. That, for me, that still makes it the king of FPS game controllers. But we're gonna move on to the next test here. But yeah, it's really fun to see that this, you know, that there is a measurable difference here. Because when I'm just, you know, playing here, or when I'm just doing this without comparing the scores, I don't really feel a difference between the Steam controller and the Gamesir. But it's fun to see that there is a measurable little bit difference. Hopefully this will be a continuation thing to really showcase that, hey, this is a more modern controller. It's more high-end gyro technology in it. The polling rate, everything comes together to just, this is a better gyro. And this is what we would have liked if we had a Steam controller version 2, this improved precision. I don't know if I were to run my Steam controller in wired mode, if that would give me higher polling rate, and if that would have made a difference. Might be fun to try that next time I swap batteries, to swap the cable and try if I remember that for my own personal testing. Let's see, we're gonna go here and we're gonna go to Headshot. See how this is gonna go. Centering my controller, centering everything. So something that this brings to the table and kind of just makes itself present is that if the Gamesir were to optimize this Gamesir controller for the Gamesir T4K controller for FPS, they would probably be best to have a trigger stop, mechanical stop there, or if you mod your ones, if you're only going for FPS games, so that it stops physically much fast, because I feel that I many times go all the way down to the bottom and Steam controller has much shorter and this is longer, and I lose a bit of precision and a bit of like control doing so. Not a huge deal, but I do feel that is the biggest thing that the Gamesir T4K could improve if they want to get this to be better at FPS games. 52,820. It's just above the Steam controller's lowest score here. Let's see how this is gonna continue. And again, you might even get better score if you were to practice this and if you were to really fine-tune. I don't think I need to change. This is very concentric circle when I move. So compared to the Steam controller, I don't need to like limit the vertical. I could maybe turn it down like 5 to 10% there, but yeah, this feels really good by default when it comes to concentric circle feeling there. Right. Right, yeah. This is not dominating, or not dominating, but this isn't beating the Steam controller like always like it did in the previous test. And I think that comes down to the triggers being much longer throw that like gets really in the way of just that kind of quick feedback of firing off here. So the Steam controller so far is in the lead in this test by very minor difference. Like you wouldn't notice the difference in real life. It is in like the single-digit % here. So, but yeah, that again comes down to that. Don't focus on just one aspect like the polling rate or something like that, or just don't focus on like how the triggers and stuff is. If possible, you need to try the gamepad, the overall feel, and tweak it and how it is going to work for you. If you focus on just one thing, you might miss out on more things that might make a bigger difference. And there's so many things that can affect everything. So another thing to take in account here is that I have an eyesight, what do you call it? I don't know if it is problem. No, eyesight this. I don't know what you call it, but I have, you know, my eye, I have like astigmatism, or what do you call it? That means that just only one eye work like pretty much at a time. They don't work together. And when, you know, the balloons flip back and forth, I feel, I can tell that my brain is using different eyes to kind of like see with, and that can also affect the latency and the accuracy. So that's just a personal thing, but that can definitely be a thing that depending on how the balloons pop up, how often I need to, like, my brain need to switch like eyes, that can affect the scores and everything. This is very, very close, very like a very persistent little range here. Both the Steam controller and this one has a very like tight little range. Steam controller is still winning pretty much in everything but the lowest score. And that score is like 0.0 something difference. So we're gonna summarize the scores by the end, but 968. But yeah, the Steam controller won over the Gamesir in this one. Let's go to the final one, see how that's gonna go, and then we're gonna summarize the feeling of this. Took a bit longer to do this video than I expected. Hopefully this will be fun to someone. But this is definitely for me very interesting as to see here. Again, not competitively or to crown a winner, but just to see my own limitations and my own thing here. Oops. Here we go. Center it. Trying to get as comfortable as I can and go. Okay, first test 34107. 34107. 34107. Here, the Steam controller got a big lead actually. Very like maybe 10% or more lead. And I think it comes down to the shorter triggers. If this has a physical like block to make the trigger just more, it would have been this would have become much closer. The longer triggers is going to be better for racing games and stuff like that, but pure FPS games, since it has this long throw, and even if you can in software make it smaller, having a physical stop is just more better for your brain to like really know that now I can let go, making it faster. And that again is having in this test much bigger difference than anything else. It doesn't matter that this has a higher precision gyro, it doesn't matter that this is more lightweight, it doesn't matter that it has a higher polling rate. Here it is the thing that in my brain, my everything, like it telling me that pressing the finger down longer before I can get any kind of feedback than on the Steam controller, that is making a bigger difference. It's definitely, that is probably also helping the mouse a lot, because you have the shortest and the most distinct click, very like distinct thing. You have this mechanical button in in the, you know, in the mouse that really gives you that very, very, very physical kind of direct feedback. So I'm gonna turn off the the trigger dampening in the last test. Hopefully I remember that and see. But yeah, I think the triggers here is going to make the Gamesir might be as a disadvantage here. Ooh, even worse. All right. Yeah, this is getting its ass kicked in this. I'm gonna try to level the feel out through software here as much as possible. So let's see, we're gonna turn off. There we go. We're gonna turn off the trigger dampening first. No. And we are good trigger, blah, 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 blah. Okay. We're also going to do another thing here. So, on this one, on the right trigger, we're gonna give this the best possible advantage as we possibly can. We're gonna do this, start of press. So, as soon as this, it should be at least, as soon as it registers that the trigger is being pressed, it should activate and fire. This means that I cannot like spray or, you know, hold down my mouse to fire. But in this test, this is just a single click thing here to give it this controller the best kind of software help as it can to see if that's gonna make a difference or not. Yeah, because looking at the scores, it is losing here, but I feel it is not due to the gyro or the control itself. It's like the main thing. The main thing is like shooting here and pressing down the trigger, since it is so much longer throw here, is what is getting the scores lower and making me miss and making some of the clicks not registering in the same like direct manner as the Steam controller. And the Steam controller is set to regular activation of the triggers, so this should have a speed advantage now. Not advantage, optimization is more likely what I would say, because you could use this in software as an active like an what could do action layer to swap between if you want to have the triggers being this mode or not, like activating as soon as you press, but then you can't spray. So it's not really like advantage, it's more optimization here. So let's try to center this, relax, getting position, try to do my best here. I hope that it's clear that I'm not trying to be I'm trying to do my best with every one of these controllers, since the Gamesir has beaten Steam controller in previous test and the mouse has beaten every one of them, so I'm not trying to make anyone better or worse. This helps a lot, and this goes again to showcase that don't focus on one aspect. There's so many things to consider here. I want to give this one a fourth try here now when I'm warmed up here, just because since there is such a big difference here. Yeah, I'm gonna remove the lowest score for this one. I think this is more fair. I'm gonna just for fun remove sound because this is to showcase like the gyro and not like the triggers. So we're gonna give this a little bit of an extra, since this has such a different triggers here. We're gonna give this that advantage. I think it deserves that one. So I'm just gonna go back to, if I were to install this again, I think it's good to reset this. Right, and let's summarize this thing up here. Let me write down, let's remove, there we go. Right, there we go. Go back to the lobby, return to lobby. Let me go back to, there we go. I'm gonna do that, why not? I'm gonna close down Aimlab. You know what, I'm gonna even uninstall because I prefer to just play a game, have fun. I don't think I'm gonna jump into this, but this was really fun and really good. I recommend this to you. You can have this as a great tool to optimize and help you see what you need to practice. And for me, it definitely is flicking. That is my biggest weak point, I feel, to practice within games or anything. And keep in mind, I don't have that super speed to like crack click, and go super great in that mode. I can circumvent it by getting better at like brain as, you know, tactic and stuff like that. But all right, let's get to the stuff here. Let's do that so nothing weird happens. Let me do the results. Read them out for you guys here. So in the first test, which was the big balloons that like 3 on the screen, and when you pop one, another one pops up randomly. The best score is definitely going to be Mouse, 52,292 points, the highest one, and the second one highest point when it comes to the next of the controllers here. So that's number 1, Mouse wins. Hey, great. You wanna, you know, if you came the video for this one, Mouse is still king here for you. It's fine. The next one is going to be the Gamesir T4 Kaleid. Kaleid, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. Gamesir T4K is one I'm gonna keep naming it. So first point, 52,292. And then second place is going to be this bad boy here with 43, well, not second place score wise, but second, you know, place when it comes to comparing which one gets the highest scores, and then you know, placing them in a rank. So this is the next one, which is 43,949 points for the Gamesir T4 Kaleid, second place there. And in the third place with 39,964, the Steam controller. So it's about a 3K point difference here. So it's not a major difference. Can I do something? So up to maybe 10% difference. It sounds really high, but during normal gameplay, I don't think that's gonna be that kind of high difference, to be quite honest. But it sounds really, really high. And you know, if we were to take, what is that? Like that. It's a bit, so 15%, somewhere around that, you know, realm is mouse over the T4 Kaleid difference, right? And then another 10% more to the Steam controller. So you can have up to 25% just raw aiming precision, right? Seems super high, but when it's playing, you gotta think that there's more of this. You have the ergonomic aspect, you have that is going to be weapon swapping, difference between that, and it's going to be, you know, movement, it's going to be tactics, and lots of more difference. But hey, it's a big difference. Mouse is still going to be able to be really good. But now if you spend a lot of time and tweak and really maximize it, yeah, I think you can get a really, really close result, because my mouse here is probably not going to get drastic improvement. I feel that with the gyro here, since I have less hours and everything, and less with the T4K, that has a best possibility of increasing. So the gap could probably be within 5% reach, and that is not going to be difference between winning or not for, you know, unless you are e-sport player. And the funny thing here, obviously, is that the lowest score is on the mouse. You know, when I first did my absolute first run, was 44,380, and if you compare that to the highest that you get, this is the first run with the mouse, right? And then you have the second run of the Gamesir T4 Kaleid, it got 43,949 score. That's a really, really, that's a minimal difference. What is that if you were to do? Yeah, that's like 1%. It's in the error margin almost. Like, so if you're having a bad day with mouse, you can have a better day with the gyro, and it could be really coming apart. There's so many more aspects to consider here and to think and judge. So, but there we have it. So mouse, then Gamesir T4 Kaleid, and then the Steam controller here, and you know, 15% difference from mouse to Gamesir, and then another 10% around that to the Steam controller. Headshot then, the little smaller balloons mostly popping out on the sides. We have the winner is mouse, 59,294 for this bad boy. And then we have the next one, which is quite funny here to see that, you know, how they can mix and match a little bit here. And it's going to depending on, you know, the randomness of the balloon, how they pop up, and just, it's a lot of randomness that can stick in here and everything. But the next one is going to be, so I got my best one on the mouse on my first try. And then we have the third try is the Steam controller, where I scored 55,562 points. So not a big difference there, a couple of percentage here, right? Should we do the calculations? See if we are getting that. Yeah, it's like 5 to 7% difference there. So it's not a huge difference. That is not going to be affecting most people's performance or anything like that. And then we have the Gamesir T4K that came in with the highest score, the third run also, 53,968 points. And again, that's like a couple of 1 to 3% difference from the Steam controller, so they're super close. But here you can see that there are more than that can happen, randomness and stuff like that. And here you needed to be a little bit, I think the triggers started making more of a difference here because the smaller hitbox and everything, getting more precise shots in. But the funny thing is to see that the Steam controller was beating, in its final round, was beating the lowest score of the mouse. So really highlighting my point that if you are finding your great gamepad that you really just can communicate with and tweak, you're gonna get very close to your mouse results. Definitely, for sure. You have a very good shot to getting within that 5% range. Maybe if you are going super hardcore, even achieve in certain circumstances higher than your mouse, because they both have pros and cons. And the most interesting here is to see that the Gamesir T4K, all of the results are within 1% here. They all were super consistent. And looking at the Steam controller, they were maybe up to 5% difference here, 3 to 5. It's just a slight bit of variation here, probably down to just random how the balloons popped up in a good order. And the mouse had about the same kind of difference, 5% range difference there. But the Gamesir was super, consistent here. Even in the first test, definitely super consistent. Also, a little bit high variation, up to 5% there. And then going into the final, we had more of the flick shot thing. Mouse was a clear winner here with 55. This one, 55,896 points. And the second place, we're gonna ignore that score, was, which is funny to see here again, is that this one with 45,015 points. It's just, this was a clear winner. Consistently 5% over the Gamesir T4K here, which is really interesting to see that flicking here for some reason I went better. It could be RNG was better. I think the triggers definitely, since I turned off I turned on that it should fire as soon as it registers a press on the Gamesir on the final round there. I can see it's getting more consistent. So I think the triggers played a big point in here in just quickly moving and getting that to register. It didn't register as snappy first with the long triggers. So again, this one that came in the third place with the highest score, the last run with 42,007 points. If they were to want to optimize this for, if the Gamesir wanted to make this an FPS bad boy, physical stop for the triggers here, or making them very smaller, or having an option of a controller that are just this kind of mechanical, like the face button are, that kind of just click, would really help to make this a bad boy when it comes to that. That is the biggest disadvantage, is the long throw triggers. But it's also a big pro, because racing games, you want those long throws here to really be able to push a much longer way. You want that longer throw for that. Steam controller is gonna get his ass kicked when it comes to racing games with this much shorter. So yeah, let me quickly end with, there we go, with that. Let's put, I want to do a final calculations to end this with one off. I'm just curious to see. So that is yeah, all right. So it's still the mouse in its best form. It's up to the Steam controller. It still is, up to 15 to 20% difference there, right? which is a big thing. If you're into Valorant and you're really going high ranked, that's gonna make a big difference. You need to fine tune your gamepad better, or you need to get down with mouse and keyboard, something to really help you, because the 20% difference is huge. But also, if we go for you go for this, if you have a bad day with mouse, the difference actually can be just 2 to 4%, which showcase the thing. And the biggest thing for you to improve is probably going to be consistency. To get that thing that, okay, find a good warm-up routine if you're going to go ranked, to get so that you are always consistent, to focus on one mouse setup and like that, and one gamepad, and tune and get your muscle memory and everything tuned for it. Because again, like the lowest score with the mouse before the first run there is just within like the 3-4% difference compared to the middle run of my Steam controller. And my Steam controller were, pretty more consistent. It didn't have that huge kind of difference here, gap in. Let me do the numbers for the mouse, how big of a difference it was. If we go from the lowest to the highest, I had about 15 to 18% of a variation in accuracy kind of difference here. That's huge. That's you gotta get rid of that, if it is with your setup that you focus on, or if it is through warm-up practice or just training, because that's not something you want to have going into a ranked match. Like, oh shit, am I going to be on the low 15% at disadvantage, or my high 15% plus, or zero, like what should be your 0 bar, like consistent, your highest there. So yeah, that is the conclusion. If you just wanted to come here, mouse dominated, well, maybe, yeah, you can call it that if you want to do. Steam controller won in like one test, and the Gamesir won in 2 tests here. So you can say that the Gamesir is the winner in the Game Pass if you want to do that in this pure aiming test. For me, like, I cannot tell the difference between, like, just going between them. I feel a slight difference. Like, it's not like I can really tell, but I kind of just looking at numbers and everything, it has a little bit of a smoother, more exact gyro in the T4K. But the Steam controllers, gyro isn't really a disadvantage. And unless you compare them like this and look at numbers, I cannot tell a difference. Like, if I'm not really hard focused, there's really no difference to tell. And you can get a bigger difference by just tweaking software, tweaking settings, getting your muscle memory going. But the biggest point that I hope that is to end this with is, don't pass up on gyro aiming. Gyro aiming is a really good and fun tool for experience shooter games, and like 3D platforms, like anything that requires some kind of aiming thing here. Don't turn gyro down just by default. It really is something to really keep an eye on and really give it a good solid chance. And the more you have played with a dual stick joystick or gamepad, the more problematic it might be for you to get used to it, because you might have so much built-in muscle memory, and you might have had so much help from aim assist that it feels like the gyro isn't good for you. But if you start just warming up to it, you're going to see nice benefits. That's going to be, in a longer run, a really nice and fun experience. So yeah, for me, this is like, it wasn't any like winner. It's just fun to see that I should, if I want to improve, practice flick sticking. That is my biggest problem here. And that really the Steam controller and the Gamesir, when it comes just to the pure gyro aiming, they are pretty much going to be hand in hand, going up and down. It's going to be more about me just tweaking software and getting used to it. That's going to be deciding which one is going to be better when it comes to gyro here. And they just are both really great when it comes to gyro aiming and to being gamepads. They are both really amazing gamepads. So you can follow, you can check back to the channel, you can leave a comment, you know, a like. If you have done this test with your gyro controller, feel free to, you know, leave the name of your controller and which one of these 3 tests, or all of them, and what score you got. Could be really fun to just, you know, check back and know that. If not, maybe you now know about this tool that you can use it for mouse, keyboard, gamepads to fine-tune it. And if you have done this test and if you have beaten my score with, you know, with a pure Xbox controller style with just have 2 dual stick, I would love to like see that, because that you gotta be crazy. I cannot imagine anyone getting close to these scores with just using a stick to move around, because, you know, yeah, that would blow my mind. I would love to see that. The years of just muscle memory and practice into building up, that would be, to me, insane. There probably won't be more videos like this, maybe some, and depending on the request and stuff like that. So stay tuned for normal let's try, let's play and stuff like that. And thanks for watching, and if nothing else here, I don't think no. Yeah, that's it for this video. Have a great day and goodbye for this time.